Hey, good to see everybody here on the stream. I'm 5 News Chief Meteorologist Skot Covert. If we've not had the pleasure of meeting yet, I certainly hope our paths cross soon. If you haven't heard, there's a big old winter storm coming, and my objective tonight is to be really transparent with you with regards to what we know and what we don't. And there are plenty of questions that remain unanswered. We're still a couple of days away from the onset of this event, but it's a long duration event. What I mean by that is, well, yeah, it may start Friday night. It doesn't wrap up until Sunday midday. So there's a lot of time for this event between us and the end of it, which certainly opens the door to some additional forecast changes. My number is at the bottom of your screen. If you're watching on your phone, it may be kind of weird. You may have to grab your partner's phone or something to text me, 479-785-5000. I'm looking right here on my phone. So as soon as you guys can roll those through, I'll start answering what I can. While I'm waiting on some of those questions to come in, I did want to give you just a bit of an update on the forecast in terms of things that we're seeing. We're going to start here with the wind, the impact, and the need, just the high-level overview. I think things get going for us at the earliest Friday afternoon, but I really think more likely it's going to be later in the evening, based off kind of what we know now. I want to walk you through a couple of the different scenarios coming up here in just a couple of minutes. And as I alluded to, it doesn't look like precipitation wraps up until probably midday Sunday. That doesn't mean it's going to be snowing or sleeting the entire duration. That's going to be on and off. There will be breaks before you see additional snow or sleet or rain showers move through. It does look like snow and sleet is the primary concern for us. We've also got to talk about the cold temperatures, which I know isn't as flashy, but we're talking about some dangerously cold temperatures. We'll take a look at what those wind chills may feel like, and wind is certainly a factor for us, not only in terms of wind chills, but as that snow and sleet's falling, we're looking at some gusts up to 30 to 35 miles per hour, which could reduce visibility. The roads will probably be slick anyways. Some folks can't avoid getting out and about, and if that's you, just know this, yeah, you might be slipping and sliding. You also may not be able to see very far in front of you, so a lot of caution is going to be needed. I think the safe bet right now, wow, you guys, ooh, that phone is lighting up. We've got some questions coming in. Right now, let's plan for some travel issues. It's going to happen. I have a high degree of confidence in that. Let me be very transparent with you there. A lot of confidence that we are looking at widespread travel issues, not only in the roads, but a lot of major airports, including Atlanta, Dallas, Love Field, Dallas-Fort Worth, Charlotte, Raleigh-Durham, and then, of course, our local XNA Enforcement Regional as well. Do this for me. Expect some changes. This forecast is far from locked in. One of the reasons I do expect some changes is actually really cool. If you've watched ever during hurricane season, you'll know that I get to be a nerd about the hurricane hunters. A few years ago, I got to fly a mission with the hurricane hunters. If you've never heard of the Hurricane Hunters, this is an Air Force reconnaissance unit that literally flies up in C-130s right in the heart of the storm. Why in the world would the Hurricane Hunters do that in general, and why are they out flying tonight? In fact, literally live as you speak, this is their location. I've got it plotted on my maps here. Why are they doing that? Well, interestingly enough, one of the reasons we have a lot more questions about this system than answers is all we have is what we see, satellite. There are no weather balloons out at sea. There's no Doppler radars out at sea. And so we're really limited on what information we know about it. So once this Hurricane Hunter reconnaissance flight ends, they're going to send that data back into our weather models. More data in the weather models, good, actionable data, means more answers for us. Super cool that they're out flying for us tonight. They're probably going to continue flying that storm, and the more data they can put into our weather models, the better they're going to be, and the better picture and understanding of how this unfolds we're able to provide to you. You're literally looking at them right now on your screen in real time, which is so stinking cool. Okay, here's the setup. If you were watching last night at the 10 o'clock news or overnight on our 24/7 stream, and hey, if you're new here and you haven't heard about the 24/7 stream, it's like my favorite thing we've ever had here. This is literally 24/7. The weather in Arkansas and Oklahoma doesn't stop, so neither do we. It's available around the clock on 5 News Plus. If you're joining us here on 5 News Plus tonight, you probably already know about it. It's also available on the 5 News app on your phone, and we also stream it over to YouTube. So literally put us in your pocket, take us wherever you want, and then we're going to be providing providing you updates around the clock. We also don't gatekeep the weather model information. If you want it, you can get it right there on 5 News Plus. Our weather cameras also stream. So maybe this weekend, as the snow and sleet's falling and you want to see how pretty it looks outside without getting up out of the recliner, you can just pull up the 24/7 impact stream. Nonetheless, I digress. Last night into the overnight hours, I kind of showed you this map and I told you, hey, we're starting to see a northerly shift. And this is kind of what it looked like last night at 10 o'clock. Well, that meant implications to our forecast. Interestingly enough, that trend continued. And when we're forecasting really any type of weather, but definitely winter weather, the trend is your friend. And what I mean by that is when we start to see these trends happen, we don't necessarily take the bait every time the model changes because they're going to wiggle back and forth, back and forth. It's nonsense. In fact, if I had a dollar to bet, I would bet a lot of you folks watching tonight have been seeing this junk on Facebook and all over the internet for the last several days, and it's kind of exhausting. I get it. It is exhausting. And if you live by the models, you die by the models. Garrett used to teach me that, which is something that stuck with me. One model run could change the next time the data comes in 2 or 3 hours later. And that's going to happen. So when we're looking at the forecast and we're analyzing all these different model runs, these different computer ideas, we're looking for trends, not specific solutions, but hey, what's the overall trend? And all day today, that trend has been a northerly track. And what that means, what's the weather impact of a northerly track? Well, it means more sleet in the river valley. Potentially means even a little bit of freezing rain as well. Overall, I still think north of Interstate 40 is probably on track to see more snow than anything else. I think the event starts as a mix of sleet, at times a little bit of snow in the river valley, maybe even a little bit of freezing rain. Certainly, the further south you go, you get into southern LaFleur and maybe even parts of Scott and gosh, dare I say even parts of southern Logan County, you might have a little bit of freezing rain. If that trend continues north, I'm going to be a lot more concerned about freezing rain. I'm not calling for that yet. This is me just wanting to be really transparent with you as to what the heck am I looking for. What's going to get me really concerned is if that trend continues to go further north. I want to walk you through one Futurecast. This is one of many models, but what it does show us is a general overview of timeline. This is not high resolution. It serves a purpose, but I'll show you the high resolution here in a minute. Different physics, these computers are programmed differently. This one is kind of a big picture model. This is 10 a.m. Friday, cloudy skies out there. Temperatures are rapidly falling. The cold air gets here first. The moisture comes much later. You're going to feel those temperatures rapidly falling throughout the day on Friday morning into the afternoon, without a question. Notice this, you get to maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I don't see a lot happening here locally, according to this specific picture. You start to see that moisture beginning to move in across southern Oklahoma, northern Texas. You can see the green, of course, is rain, right? You know that. The pink and that salmon color, that's going to be a mix. More sleet, maybe a little bit of freezing rain. At times, a couple of snow flurries. Where it transitions over to those whites and the blues, that's predominantly snow. This is now looking at 9 p.m. You're getting a little bit closer. I think it's possible we have a couple of scattered flurries and sleet pellets before 9 p.m. For all practical purposes, though, the later in the evening you get Friday, more likelihood that we're going to be running into some precipitation. This is overnight. I really think it's long after dark when we start to see widespread precipitation move in. This is 3 a.m. Saturday. Again, you see that transition zone. This is what the model thinks right now. Keep in mind, like we just talked about, that's going to shift a little bit. We hope it shifts further south and everyone gets snow. But you know, wish casting doesn't do us a lot of good around here. So that's what it is right now. Let me fast forward a little bit. Let's go out into Saturday. Keep in mind, most of the snow will fall Saturday. I'm going to show you my snowfall projections here in a minute. We've got a first call map. I want you to keep in mind, though, that this is not a situation where you wake up Saturday morning and you see a whole bunch of snow on the ground. There'll be some, but the totals I'm going to show you here in a second. And before I get to those questions, and I see my phone just buzzing over here. This is into the morning Sunday when you kind of total it all up. This continues on and off. It's a big impact. All of Arkansas, all of Oklahoma, all of really the south and southeast is impacted by this storm. This is now overnight Sunday. Things are wrapping up 9, 10 o'clock in the morning Sunday. The second half of the day, we'll actually may even see a little bit of sunshine. Here's some high resolution data. Now, you sacrifice the quality of the data to get a high resolution input, meaning there's a little bit of a trade-off. Low resolution, you probably have more accurate forecasts, but high resolution, you kind of got to throttle it back a little bit and able to get these. So you take it all with a little bit of a grain of salt. What it shows and what I'm purposely showing you this for is it kind of shows a rain, sleet, snow mix in the River Valley, maybe as early as 5, 6 o'clock in the evening before it too becomes widespread overnight. This is midnight, so Saturday at midnight, and you can see that I-40 corridor, I mean, almost like it always does. It's just playing a really good role in kind of delineating between snow versus a mix in the River Valley. We see those darker blues. That's going to be some heavy snow mixing in at times. This is 11 a.m. Saturday, and that's as far out as this specific high-resolution model goes. So what are we thinking? Our first call, again, it's going to be updated. We're going to look at every piece of data that comes in, and it's going to be coming in quick here soon. 7 to 10 inches, I think, is going to be common across northwest Arkansas. 3 to 7 south of Interstate 40 of a snow-sleet mix. It's not all going to be snow. There's going to be some sleet mixing in, and that's going to come first. And so when that sleet gets compacted on the roads and on the sidewalks and in our yards, it turns into a layer of ice. Then you can add in some snow on top of that when things finally transition going into the second half of Saturday as more deeper cold air spills further south. In terms of power outages, that's often most associated with freezing rain. And while I can't rule out a little freezing rain, especially once we get into the Ouachitas for sure, right now, with what I'm seeing, I don't see crippling ice storm. I see some isolated outages, perhaps. If that trend continues further north, then I'm going to be a little bit more concerned. And look, I'll be the first to tell you when I'm concerned. Why the difference? Why in the world is northwest Arkansas going to see mostly snow, and those of us in the River Valley are going to see that sleet snow mix? Well, it all has to do with the vertical profile. And gosh, that sounds nerdy. It all has to do with the column of air from where you and I are standing all the way up to the cloud level. I'm kind of showing you the different precip types. Of course, on the far right side of the screen, you've got cold air all the way from the clouds to the surface. So in those clouds, you got some snowflakes developing, and those snowflakes are going to follow snowflakes, and they're going to land on the ground, and they're going to accumulate as snowflakes. Where you start to have sleet, as we kind of work our way to the left side of your screen there, there's what we call a warm nose. It's a thin layer of warm air between us here at the ground and the clouds. So what happens is those snowflakes develop in the clouds, they start to fall out, they encounter that warm nose, and they melt into raindrops. Those raindrops continue falling before eventually running into some really cold temperatures well below freezing here at the surface. They refreeze really, really quickly, and that's where we start to get sleet pellets. Where you have freezing rain, it's similar but different in the sense of that nose of warm air is just a little bit deeper, and it doesn't have time to refreeze into ice pellets before it hits the surface, creating a glaze, which is really, really bad news. Here are the impacts that we're looking at. Travel, high impact travel. Roads are going to be rough. Airport travel is going to be rough. And Mother Nature is not going to warm above freezing until probably Tuesday. Closures, there's no school on weekends, right? But there are going to be business closures, church closures. We'll have to watch Monday. I think there's a potential that some schools are still closed Monday. Outages, I'm going to keep those in the low category. So here's what I'm going to do. I've got, holy moly, a lot of your text messages. Let's roll through some of these. I'm going to get to as many as I can. Will school be canceled for Friday or early release? I've seen so many radars of different things, so I'm curious. This is a good question. I've talked to a few school administrators today, and with what I'm seeing right now, I don't see a need for that. Could it shift and change? Yes, but I think a lot of this is probably going to be in the evening at the earliest, increasing in odds going into later in the night. Okay, I was just curious, what is the determining factor of snow versus sleet, freezing, rain if the temperatures are below freezing? Awesome question. We kind of just answered that there. I think, it's going to be way below freezing here at the surface, but we have to be really mindful of what happens above us. With that warm nose kind of moving into place, that starts to throw a monkey wrench into things. How high would you say the likelihood of the track shifting more north? Oh man, $1 million question. I'm more bald this evening than I was even this afternoon because I've been pondering that question all day long. It's really hard to say. We're laser focused on it. We get new data probably by 9:30. I'm going to review it rapidly before the 10 o'clock news. We'll see. If there's a shift, I'll for sure let you know. Okay, Scott, my name is Clay Metzger with Storm X LLC. I have snow equipment for snow removal. I bet you're going to be busy out there, Clay. Stay safe. Let's see. Scott, big fan. My question is, should Fort Smith get measurable snow or more sleet and rain? P.S. Love your fur babies. Oh, thank you so much. Love them too. And they love snow. Fort Smith, get measurable snow or sleet and rain. Last night I went to bed with a pretty comfortable grasp of what I thought was going to happen. But then with that northerly shift and kind of the data kind of moving around today, I actually feel less certain now than I did last night. Again, me being like just super transparent with you. I think you're going to get snow, but I think you're also going to get sleet, and you're probably going to get more sleet than snow with how things stand right now. And when you measure it all, it's tough to pick out which is sleet, which is snow. Chances of changing to freezing rain in the Fort Smith area. It's certainly possible as things get going, there might be a thin glaze of freezing rain, but I don't think Fort Smith right now sees freezing rain that would cause major crippling power outages or tree damage or things of that nature. Let's watch it closely because the transition zone may be really tight gradient, meaning there could be a big difference from Fort Smith to Greenwood or Paris to Boonville or Poteau to Heavener. That's a real probability. Noah and I were discussing that today. That's a real likelihood. I need a duck report. Lucas Skaggs, my geometry teacher. That's been a tough duck season. I'm sure they're all going to come now that I'm going to be stuck at work the next several days. If we commute to work like 20 minutes, what time do you think the interstates are going to start getting iffy around Clarksville? I think probably by, with what we know right now, 7 to 10 is probably a good window for things to just be mindful of. More likelihood probably after midnight. But 7 to 10 is probably when I would expect things to become a bit more widespread. Scott, when will we know for sure the path of the storm? I live in Fort Smith. Truth be told, and I want to tell you the truth, I think we're expecting changes up until probably Friday. We're certainly going to have better clarity once we get that aircraft reconnaissance data in, weather balloon data in, once it makes it onto the West Coast. But we won't stop looking at the forecast data even at that point. Poteau ice accumulation, I don't have that off the top of my head. I've been looking at it closely. It's very, very low, maybe a couple hundredths of an inch. Maybe a tenth of an inch at most. You start to see power outages at roughly half an inch of ice, maybe isolated at a quarter, but I think we're staying below that at least of right now. Let's see here. Will it affect schools around NWA on Friday? I don't think so with right now. If the system speeds up, yeah, that's a problem. But with right now, it looks like most of this is happening later in the evening. Let's see. This is going to be Braley. If it's going to be below freezing in the River Valley, why is the River Valley getting so much sleet? Shouldn't it mainly be snow? Yeah, we can't just focus on the temperatures here at the ground. There's so much more territory that this precipitation falls through. Yeah, it may fall out of the cloud as a snowflake, but once it encounters that warm air, warmer than 32, maybe it's only 34, 35 degrees, it's going to melt it, and then it refreezes once it hits the surface where our temperatures are going to be bitterly cold. Really good question. In terms of why is this forecast so complicated, that's why. It's how deep is that warm nose? Where does it come from? When does it get here? At what point does it totally dissipate and everything transitions over to snow? That warm nose, man, it's a pain in the... Any chance my classes get canceled Friday at UART? I don't think so, not as of right now. How much snow is Fort Smith going to see? I think we're on track for 3 to 7. This is preliminary. Maybe we have to revise up. Maybe we have to revise down. I think 3 to 7 is a good starting point. Interestingly enough, 3 inches is the annual average snow in the River Valley, 6 inches in Northwest Arkansas. So it looks like many of us probably see a year's worth of snow out of one event. And we've got a lot of winter to go, so we'll see if we can't get any more. How much snow do you think we're going to get, and how will it affect day-to-day travel? Didn't get a location here, but you see the snow projections mixing with a little bit of sleet there, of course, on the screen. Day-to-day travel is going to be rough. I think roads deteriorate overnight Friday into Saturday. They're going to stay rough all day long on Saturday. I don't think they get really hardly any better at all on Sunday, especially for sure those secondary side streets. I mean, our road crews are really good around here, but there's a couple of things that are going to make this harder for road conditions. Number one, this is a statewide event for Arkansas and Oklahoma. And the reason I point that out to you, in other events where it's just us, we can pull resources from around the state that aren't being impacted by winter storm. In this case, it's impacting everybody statewide, and so we're not going to be able to pull those resources. Number two, surface temperatures are really, really low. Salt is ineffective at the temperatures we're looking at. Of course, I've heard from RDOT folks, they're going to add some beet juice brine to their salt mixture, and that does help lower that freezing point. But even then, it's only effective to a certain extent. So I don't think we're looking at good road conditions for sure. Do you expect roads to be bad Monday and Tuesday in the River Valley? Monday, secondary and side streets are going to be bad. Main roads may be passable. Doesn't mean they're going to be great, but it means they're going to be passable. I would say, if you're one of those folks that can't stay home, you got to work, and look, I get it. That's me too. Put some supplies in your car, a blanket, some matches, things to stay warm, maybe a couple of bottles of water, a snack in case you get stranded. Sometimes we get those mobile power banks. You can charge your phones on the go, things of that nature, just in case. Let's see, curious on the timing of when the winter storm should begin, I-40 and north. Yeah, lots of timing questions out there. I still don't have a crystal clear answer. I do think, we're talking probably at the earliest 6 p.m., more likely later in the evening Friday. So I think a lot of us are going to have time to get home. Hi, Scott. Will this be powdered snow or hard packed snow? Justin in Fayetteville. Really good question. I'll rephrase the question so it's more appropriate for the kids. Is this good snowman building snow? Can we have a snowball fight with this snow? And unfortunately, the answer is not definitively one way or the other. Some folks have been asking, is this a wet snow or a dry snow? It's going to start as a wet snow, but as those temperatures continue to drop, as that Arctic air continues to spill in, Arctic air is not just bitter cold. Arctic air is really dry as well, and your skin's going to reflect that. Your skin's going to start to feel really itchy and dry this weekend. If you go to touch the milk section at Walmart, even today, but certainly going into this weekend, you're going to have static electricity. And that's because of the really, really dry air in there. So it starts as a wet snow, ends as a powdery snow. That's going to be a little bit more dry. We live close to the news station. Howdy, neighbor. How much snow are we going to get here? I think 7 to 10. I kind of feel really good about that, at least where we're at right now. When do you think it'll hit Searcy, Arkansas, and how much snow should we expect? I love that we have somebody from Searcy here. When I worked in the Little Rock market, I covered Searcy and White County and had a lot of fun doing it. In fact, there's a really, really good barbecue restaurant there in Searcy, and what's the name of it? Shoot, I can't remember. It doesn't matter. I would love some barbecue with this event. I haven't followed the Searcy trends. I've been so focused on the Channel 5 viewing area. I'd highly encourage you to go check out our sister station, THV11. Tom and the team down there will keep you covered. I wish I had more information for you. You think this is going to be a storm that will make the power go out in Fort Smith Van Buren? Should we have generators just in case? I don't see widespread power issues. Now, there are going to be winds up to 30 to 35 miles per hour, which, comparatively speaking, severe thunderstorm warnings get issued at 58. So we're way below that. Gusty for sure. But because of those winds, really cold temperatures that could put a strain on the system, I can't rule it out, but I don't think this is like that crippling ice storm that a lot of us have in memory from a few years back. So I don't think so. How bad is the Memphis, Tennessee side supposed to be? I think they're going to get a lot like kind of what we're getting here. They're going to get several inches of snow there for sure. What should we do to be prepared? Should we be worried? No, don't be worried. Don't be worried. Like, goodness gracious. Be prepared for sure, and you have nothing to worry about. What does preparedness look like for you? It's different for everybody. For me, it looks like making sure my dogs have enough food, making sure they're going to be taken care of, making sure there's enough snacks in the house to get me through. And I'm the world's worst at eating the snow stacks like 2 hours into an event. Don't do that. You're probably going to want to stay put this weekend. Getting out and about is going to be tough. It ain't going to be easy. And also, I think a lot of things are going to be closed. So, you know what? On our Thursday, tomorrow, it's going to be mild in the afternoon. We're looking at low 50s in the afternoon. Take advantage of it. Go out, run some errands, make sure the gas tank's filled up. Make sure your home is winterized, especially on exposed pipes. We're talking about pipe bursting cold for an extended period of time. Temperatures are rapidly falling below freezing, probably midday Friday, and they're not going to be above freezing until Tuesday. So, preparedness, think about pets, people, pipes, and plants. We say the 4 Ps. I don't know who has any plants at this point, like outside, but if that's you, you want to take care of them. Pipes are going to be a big thing. We don't want burst pipes. Have some supplies in the house. If you need to go run to the pharmacy and get some refills, wouldn't hurt to have some bottles of water just in case we do have some water supply issues, freezing rain, resulting in power outages. All in the realm of possibility, not necessarily likely, but you can't rule it out as these things evolve and become more clear. Of course, I'll let you know what my preparedness thing is going forward. For me, just make sure you can be comfortable in the house for a few days. What time do you think things are going to get started around Prairie Grove to Lincoln area? Yeah, go back to that kind of Friday evening. You could see some light activity in the afternoon. Probably not impactful. Becoming much more widespread after the sun sets, for sure. School will be canceled Friday, early release. I think we've kind of dived into that a little bit. Probably not. Any estimate on how much snow we get in Fayetteville? I really think 7 to 10. I'll zoom in. I don't think I did this earlier. Let me zoom into some towns, Northwest and the River Valley. We'll come back to more questions. Number here is on the screen. I'm literally answering them in real time. Text me. It's no joke. I want to hear from you and do whatever I can to get you set up and prepared. 7 to 10, Fayetteville's going to be pretty common. This map may have to be revised up. I've always told people I take things kind of conservatively. We have a long ways to go before this event actually starts. And so I don't see any reason to post a doom and gloom map or even a worst case scenario map. I think this is a good starting place that, maybe it has to be revised up. Could have to be revised down too. That's certainly the realm of possibility. But 7 to 10 is going to be common across Decatur, Garfield, Rogers, Bentonville, Bella Vista, West Fork, Farmington, you name it. I'm going to the River Valley here, and that's where we're going to start to see that zone of a little more uncertainty. That's kind of why I've got it outlined for you, kind of the dash there. 3 to 7 inches is kind of where we're starting things at. One of the things that we're watching so closely is where does that transition line set up? And that's dictated by the overall storm track. More to the north, well, we're going to bring more sleet in. Maybe it moves back off towards the south a little bit, which means less sleet and more snow. This is a cumulative total. I've built in sleet and snow to the measurements that you're seeing here, just to be really clear, what's behind these numbers. 3 to 7 of sleet and snow in the River Valley and in the Ouachitas. Sleet eats up more of the moisture and it mitigates against higher snow totals. It kind of chips away at it. And so with things starting out as more sleet and kind of continuing as sleet for several hours into Saturday before transitioning over to snow, we're kind of in that range right there. Scott, how are you? I love that my dogs keep getting brought up. They're the joy of my life, and you guys know that. How awesome is that? How are the pups? I'm out preparing the pups for all this snow. I really had in mind to bring them to the station with me. It'd make me happier. But we have a new puppy, and she's a terrorist. She's a nut. She's insane. We want her to be a therapy dog, but the truth is, I think she's just going to send everybody she encounters to therapy. I think she misunderstood the assignment. So our dog sitter is going to stay stay with them there and take care of them, which is awesome. We don't have any. I don't think that text was meant for me. That's kind of a weird one. I'm not going to read that one to you guys here. I'll spare you those details. Let's see. What else have I missed? I've got a few here. A lot of them were kind of very similar, which is kind of why I'm skipping them out. Sleet or snow in Colcord or West Siloam Springs, Oklahoma. Mostly snow. Yeah, you can get a little bit of sleet, but mostly snow. Mostly snow in Colcord and West Siloam there in Delaware County. Let's back up. You guys are blowing this thing up. Scott, David and Rogers, Garrett's old spotter. Is this snow to be able to be driven with the right vehicle, hard packed? In Rogers, you're probably going to have snow. In Rogers, you're going to have mostly snow. Now you guys are being inappropriate with these text messages. My goodness. Rogers, I think, is going to be mostly some snow there. What are the low temperatures in Crawford County? Let me fast forward here to low temperatures for everybody. So this is Saturday, 6 a.m. We're kind of in the single digits and some teens out there. You get into Sunday, and it's a little bit colder, a lot more single digits. 12, Van Buren, Alma, Cedarville, Uniontown. Monday's the coldest day of this Arctic blast. We're looking at actual low temperatures right around 0. Some of us in the negatives, but give or take a degree or two, which honestly, I'm not sure I would even know the difference between -1 and 3. It's pretty tough to feel the difference in that, right? Especially when you consider the wind chill values. This is 6 a.m. Saturday, it's going to feel like -5, Northwest Arkansas, low single digits in the River Valley, where we're going to be a little more sheltered from the wind. But I think by Monday, if the kids are going back to school or we're going back to work, we're all going to feel like we're below zero by around 10 degrees or so. -10-degree wind chills, or feels like temperatures out there Monday. That's going to be insane. Let's see. Is this a similar setup to Winter Storm Cleon back in December of 2013? So Weather Channel names winter storms. No one else does that. I honestly don't even know what this one's name is, because it's just like not a thing. So I honestly don't know which one Cleon was. It's a really cool name though. In 2013, I'm not quite sure. I will tell you, this one is really similar to our first snowstorm last year. If you remember our January, it was almost a year ago, maybe like a year and a week, or maybe a year and 2 weeks. Very similar to that one of last year. Can you tell us about DeQueen, Arkansas? Technically outside of our viewing area, but hey, if you're here, I love it. I do know a little bit more about DeQueen than I did Searcy. You're looking at some freezing rain and some sleet in DeQueen. I'd be ready for some power outages to be kind of more in that moderate category in DeQueen. That's well south of the 5 News viewing area, and that's why that probability increases in more freezing rain there in Sevier County, unfortunately. Okay. Do you think I'll have basketball games on Saturday? I don't know where we are, but no, I don't think you're going to have basketball games on Saturday. Will this be good sledding snow in Bella Vista? Yes, I think it will be. I think it will be. Outlook on travel Sunday and Monday from Ozark to NWA. Sunday up I-49, Monday up the Pig Trail. You know, I 49 is going to get cleared probably before 23. Of course, those are state highways, and RDOT takes care of those 2 highways, I should say. I think at least one of them will be passable. Passable doesn't mean good. It doesn't mean easy travel. It just means, yeah, you can get there. I think you'll be okay. Certainly better on Monday. What will the temperature picture look like Friday through Sunday? Let me jump to the 7-day forecast. I think that does a really good job of telling the story of this cold Arctic air. The high in Northwest Arkansas is 33, like a degree above freezing. We'll get that pretty early in the afternoon as those temperatures rapidly plummet. We go from 33, say noon, 1, 2 o'clock on Friday afternoon, down to 9 by Saturday morning. That's how quick these temperatures are going to be dropping. Teens for highs Saturday, Sunday. Now in the River Valley, it's a really rapid drop as well. I think we'll break into the upper 30s as that cold Arctic air spills in, though. We're down to 16 by Saturday morning, where this is really cold air, certainly the coldest of the season. How about LaFleur County? LaFleur County is a big county. It's kind of depends on where you're at. Let me say this. I think if I'm in Poteau, I'm looking at that snow sleet mix. I'm trying to zoom over to you here. I'm going to go back into Poteau, LaFleur County, zoom my way down. I think you're in that 3 to 7 snow mix. Anywhere south of Worcester, we start to add elevation. We get into Heavener, we add even more elevation there. I think freezing rain becomes more likely, mixing in with some sleet, eventually maybe ending with a little bit of snow. When we talk about the switchover line, it's going to be it may very well be a really tight gradient. And what I mean by that is, Spiro to Poteau may see sleet than snow, whereas you get into Worcester and Heavener and it's a very different world. You could say the same about Fort Smith and Greenwood perhaps, or maybe in Greenwood and Mansfield. Boonville to Waldron, it may not be a big zone. It may be a really, really small transition zone where things change really rapidly. Is the sleet/ice versus snow line north or south of the Waldron area? And what are your thoughts on travel to church on Sunday? Let's do this. Let's go back over to, I went the wrong way. Bear with me. I'm a one-man band tonight. Let me do this. We'll do some high-resolution data. That switchover line is mostly going to hug the Interstate 40 corridor. It'll wobble at times, and keep in mind that pink there doesn't mean just sleet or just ice. It means there could be a bit of a mix. Mostly sleet, probably, based off what we're kind of seeing out there, but at times it could be mixing in with some snow. maybe even a little bit of freezing rain. You're at Waldron and in Scott County as a whole, you're really definitely within that mixed zone. It will probably end as snow, but you're probably going to see more sleet and freezing rain than snow or anything else. Will we be able to make a full snowman? Kind of depends on where. Yeah, I think you said you live close to the station. Yeah, I think so, for sure. Looking forward to seeing those. What are the feels like temperatures through the weekend in Rogers? Let's see, when is that? That was about 5 minutes ago. Did you miss? I'll go back for you. Maybe you missed that part. Or maybe I'm just seeing the text message late. Either way, in case someone's just joining us, let me fast forward to those feels like temps. Saturday looks like this. I know, so Rogers there, -5. Woof. That's Saturday morning. Sunday morning, around 0, feels like. Monday, though, again, the coldest part of of this cold snap, -11 there in Rogers. Are we going to have ice, snow issues in Paris and Magazine? Man, oh man. Kind of like what we just talked about in Waldron, it's really close to that line, folks. It's like really close. I think sleet and snow is more likely with what we know right now. When we talk about the trends being our friend, if this thing keeps shifting north, then yes, I'm concerned about ice in Paris and Magazine, Logan County broadly. Let's hope it doesn't shift any farther north than it does. Will the river, the Arkansas River, play a role in any of the totals? No, not necessarily. The river itself, although you can get a bit of an east wind, which the temperature profile that we're looking at probably doesn't really matter. The interesting geographical feature that, so let me back up. Much like you, I saw the crazy maps that have some insane numbers that instead of measuring in potential inches, we're measuring in feet. I saw those. Here's what they don't know about us. Here's what those folks that don't live here that make those maps don't know about winter weather here. I grew up here. I've watched this a million times. The Ozarks, the Boston Mountains, they dam up the cold air. Cold air is shallow, right? It's more dense, so it's really shallow. It's here at the surface. And those mountains dam it up, kind of up in Missouri and Kansas. It takes a while for that cold air to kind of spill through the dam, meaning it takes a while for that really cold air from the surface up to the cloud level to really work its way in those hills and valleys to spill into the river valley, and then, of course, into the Ouachitas. So I think really the Ozarks is going to play more of a role than probably the river itself. Do you think schools will be closed Monday in the River Valley? I live by Van Buren and go to UAFS. Man, it's real possible. I know the school administrators are looking at the forecast literally as much as meteorologists are. I know that because I'm hearing from them, and I'm helping them as much as we can. Monday is really far away for us. The snow is going to come to an end probably Sunday morning. And that is going to give road crews a decent amount of time to work, even though Mother Nature is going to make their job really hard with those very, very brutally cold temperatures. So while I do think main passageways and thoroughfares like interstates, major highways, probably become passable at some point, passable, again, isn't good. It's not like free-flowing traffic. It's not up to speed limit speed. It's just barely passable. Secondary and side streets are going to be really tough. And of course, that's where a lot of school buses have to go pick up kids. So, we'll see. That's a long ways away. I don't know if I care to do any pontificating of that this far out. Okay, what time is it? It's 8:40. I want to make sure I save myself enough time to go review the new data and be back here at 10. Here on 5 News Plus, the 24/7 stream, and of course 5 News at 10. So I want to make sure I have enough time to review it and not do you guys a disservice and miss something. Nice little compliment there. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing the weather. Will the LSU Arkansas game be canceled? Is that Alex Stewart texting me? I don't know. I suspect maybe there's a decent chance. If it's not, well, first of all, LSU is going to be having to be driving or flying. Travel is going to be impacted either way from Baton Rouge. If it's not canceled, there's not going to be a lot of people attend it, probably. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm happy I'm not making that call. All right. What about Van Buren snow accumulation? Jump right back in here. We'll work our way south. Kind of wrap this up here. This is kind of our last question I got time for. River Valley, Van Buren. Gosh, I know. You're right on that line. Right now, I'm going to say a snow-sleet mix, but a few miles up the road, we get into Uniontown and like Lee Creek and Chester, Mountainburg. Elevation, it's critical and plays a big role. You're right on that line. Let's watch it for you really closely. The storm track is probably going to change a couple more times. That's like my expectation. It's really normal for it to change, especially this far out. So, measure those expectations. If you're kind of exhausted by the overload of information and data and maps, like I get it, me too. It's going to continue to get refined. And if that's you kind of exhausted about it, hey, you know where to find me. And we'll be sure to have the very latest for you. One thing's for sure, no matter how much we get area-wide and of what it is, this is a high-impact event. I don't like to use superlatives. I don't like to describe things as extreme or major, or I think the weather can speak for itself often around here. It doesn't need me to be a type man. Plenty of other folks want to do that. In this case, I'd be doing you a disservice if I didn't call it a major winter storm. I think it's going to be a major winter storm. Probably one we remember. And that's kind of a good way I measure things, is how many snowstorms did I remember as a kid, still to this day. This is going to be one of those. For some, it's going to be more sleet than snow. Kind of depends on where you're at. So, all right, that's going to do it for me. I really appreciate your questions. Let me tell you the plan. There's a lot of plans. Let me tell you the best plan that I can remember. Number one, I'm going to have more updates for you tonight on the 10 o'clock newscast. We have this thing called a Weather Impact 24/7 stream. If you've never seen it, it's on your smart TV, and it's literally 24/7. Like, the weather doesn't stop, so we don't either. So we staff that thing 24/7. It's got live updates that come into play for you. You can see our weather cameras around the area. That's available all night long tonight. It will be available for forever at this point. It's like one of our favorite things that we can provide you. You can check in there. You can check us out at the 10 o'clock newscast right here streaming as well, or on traditional television. I'll have some more information for you then. I'll let you know if anything changed or if it didn't. Danny's, of course, here early in the morning. He's going to have one of these Q&As, I think at 11 o'clock. I think. But he's going to have a Q&A nonetheless at some point. And then I'm going to have another one at the same time tomorrow night. 24 hours from now, who knows how much is going to change between now and then? Probably a lot. And then on Friday, we'll do one of these Q&As in the morning. We'll do one of these Q&As like around 3. And then, of course, we'll probably have a lot of extended live coverage here beginning Friday evening through the weekend. So if you think of another question, or if you see something out there that you're like, hey, I don't quite understand that, or maybe that contradicts something someone else is saying, let me ask Scott. I'd love to help provide some clarity. If I know the answers, if I don't, I'll tell you for sure. Okay, that's going to do it for all of us. And we appreciate you tuning in tonight. We'll check back in here real soon.